She was the happiest dog in the world, spoiled endlessly every day by her big sister, Chloe. But after she died, Chloe completely fell into darkness, becoming the villain everyone hated. Her fiancé abandoned her, and her family cut all ties. So she decided to reincarnate as a human even if Chloe did not accept her. It did not matter. This time, she would rely on her own effort to bring back Chloe's genuine, happy smile. This dog's name was Coco, a stray wandering the streets 5 years ago by chance. They met and were drawn to each other's lonely auras. Chloe ignored the tension and adopted Coco, surrounding her with pure happiness. Not only did she get plenty of food every day, but she could also play and be mischievous to her heart's content. The only time she got scolded was she got into filthy things. So Coco and Chloe lived together for 5 years until Coco's lifespan came to an end, even though Chloe could not understand her words. Coco did everything she could to show her love. Then her soul went to the dog's planet, where other dogs happily played. But Coco just sat there watching the world with a sad look, often hearing people badmouth Chloe. She saw her sister Chloe becoming lonelier and turning into a villain in everyone's eyes. Yet she was powerless to stop it. Before, Coco would be bitten those people just to make Chloe laugh out loud. After a year on the dog planet, a golden dragon dog noticed Coco's strange behavior, wondering why she did not join the others for walks. Actually, he was the dog god, the guardian of all dogs. But instead of playing on the dog planet, Coco wanted more than anything to be with Chloe, so she came up with a plan. Hoping the dog god would help her reincarnate as a human, she wanted to become Chloe's daughter, but the dog god immediately refused. First, Chloe was not pregnant, and the dog god did not encourage dogs to reincarnate as humans. Life in the human world is tough for dogs, and humans sometimes do cruel, dirty things without hesitation. Coco said it was fine, she was a bad dog too, always stealing Chloe's snacks and tearing up tissues. The dog god sighed, reluctantly agreed, but warned Coco not to reveal her identity and to return to the dog planet after 5 years. Then, to protect Coco the kind dog from being bullied, the dog god gave her 3 powers. First, she could communicate freely with all animals. Second, she could see the future. And third, she would become smarter whenever it involved Chloe. Then Coco slid down a rainbow back to the human world. Her form and soul transformed into a human shape. When she opened her eyes again, Coco was back at the Ardor Manor, where she used to live with Chloe. Curious, she checked her body, no tail, and her hands were way more agile. Running and jumping felt super light and fast, and as memories flooded back, she realized this body also carried her name Coco. Having grown up in the countryside, now accepted by the manor age 5, Coco immediately planned to find Chloe, but still clumsy on 2 legs. She fell, making a noise that brought a maid running over. The maid told Coco she had to pack up and leave now. Thinking it was just a walk, Coco was excited, but the maid awkwardly showed her a document giving up custody. Coco had no idea what that meant. After the maid hinted at the truth, Coco realized she was about to be kicked out of the Ardor Manor. It turned out that recently, the Ardor family received a divine decree. If they adopted a child blessed by the gods, the family would prosper, so they adopted Coco, a child bearing a sacred mark. But for some reason, a month ago, Coco's sacred mark suddenly disappeared. Confused, all she could think about was finding Chloe. Just then, Coco activated her enhanced intellect mode, asking the manor to recheck her sacred mark. Thinking that with the dog god's help, she would definitely pass, but the manor's head was away on a pilgrimage and would not return for another month. So Coco's eviction was put on hold for now. That being the case, Coco thought the first thing she had to do was meet Chloe. When she mentioned Chloe's name, the maid looked uneasy. Given Coco's status, meeting a direct family member was nearly impossible unless she did something truly remarkable. But Coco misunderstood achieving something great as finding a ball and dashed off alone to the racetrack. She and Chloe used to play with a ball on the grass there. Following the scent of the ball, Coco entered the horse stable and saw 2 adults furrowing their brows, discussing the horse's illness. It turned out the horse named T Set would not eat for some unknown reason. The guy with green hair was a vet named Pachika. Coco had met him once before, shortly before he died. Seeing little hope, Doc Moon decided to report the situation to Ruth. Ruth is Chloe's older brother, and he cared for Tia Set just as much as Chloe cared for Coco. Just then, Coco spotted the ball hidden in a corner. Thinking she would done something great, she jumped up with joy. Tia Set, standing nearby, told Coco that was not what achieving something great meant. Curious, Coco asked what really counted as doing something great. Hearing a human talk to him, Tia Set's eyes widened in shock, Then he immediately started crying and pouring his heart out to Coco. He said he was not really sick, just had a painful thorn stuck in his tongue that kept him from eating. After Coco helped pull out the thorn, Tia-set started cursing Pachika, calling him a quack. Consoling Tia-set, Coco asked again what it really means to do something great, flicking his mane proudly. Tia-set said curing a famous horse like him was definitely a big deal, just as Coco happily thought she might finally meet Chloe again. Pachika heard a noise from the stable and came back, seeing a little girl stroking Tia-set's mane. He straightened up and asked, shocked, who she was and how she managed that. Coco told him her name and insisted she was the one who cured Tia-set. After checking, Pachika confirmed Tia-set had indeed recovered fully. Thinking that Coco was just a commoner about to be kicked out, Pachika got greedy and wanted to take credit for the cure. Then he smiled and told Ko that he was the one who healed Tia-set, before rudely kicking her out, already looking forward to the reward he would get. Later, when Vut heard Tia-set was better, he dropped everything and rushed over. He asked Tia-set what illness he had. Pachika replied it was just indigestion, and that cutting up his food helped a lot. Vut was a bit suspicious, and Tia-set nearby could not hold back and immediately lost his temper, seeing Tia-set turn toward him, but happily spread his arms. But Tia-set ignored him and headed straight for the door. The three onlookers peeked out curiously and witnessed something amazing. The once fierce horse was now openly friendly with a little girl. Pachika panicked and tried to order someone to drag Coco out, but she stepped forward, introduced herself to Vut, and declared she was the one who healed Tia-set. Coco even showed the little thorn as proof. Vut's eyes went wide. When he studied abroad, Tia-set grazed in a meadow with flowers that had tiny thorns, something no outsider would guess. Plus, Tia-set got sick right when Vut returned home. After Doc Moon examined Tia-set's tongue and found a small wound, and considering the trust between Tia-set and Coco, Vut fully believed her story, facing Ruth's accusations. Pachika quickly dropped to his knees begging for forgiveness, then made excuses that he was just trying to earn Ruth's approval. Coco felt a bit sorry for him as he was scalded, but if she wanted to meet Chloe, Coco knew she had to be a bad dog. That is when Ruth remembered Coco and asked Doc Moon who she was. Doc Moon explained that Coco was the youngest daughter of the family, which made Ruth blush, thinking his old man was that age and still having kids. After Doc Moon reminded him, he recalled she was the child they recently took in. Coco shook her head, denying she belongs to this family. She had no holy mark and was about to be kicked out. Then she asked Ruth if she had really done something great or not. Ruth thought she was asking to stay at the Duke's mansion and sadly apologized, saying he did not have that kind of power. I never thought she would say she just wanted to see Chloe. Ruth almost thought he misheard. He could not believe a kid actually wanted to meet that dangerous woman. Chloe is his sister, but everyone calls her an evil witch because she handles all the dirty work no one else wants. Because she uses dark magic so often, her powers are nearly drained. As her brother, Ruth once told her to stop before it was too late, but all he got was a threat to kill him, so Ruth suggested she wish for something else. But she was stubborn as ever about it. On the way back, Ruth complained out loud about the strange kid, but secretly hoped she could open Chloe's heart. After all, they both had the same gentle look when dealing with animals. Later, she got a travel pass to the Sea Country Mansion and headed back to the place where she once lived with Chloe. Excited, she spotted a huge grave on a nearby hillside. The maid explained it was Chloe's dog's grave, guarded day and night by hired watchmen. Knowing Chloe had not forgotten her made her heart swell with joy, but the maid looked puzzled. She heard the dog died at 15, so it must have been a fake dog. She indignantly argued she was obviously a puppy, not a fake dog. Arriving at the mansion gates, the maid said she could only bring the young lady this far because Chloe estate was closed off, with only a few allowed inside. After saying goodbye to the maid, she eagerly entered but was stopped by another maid who questioned her identity. She obediently showed her travel pass. After inspecting it, the maid said Lady Chloe was seeing important guests. She did not mind waiting, note her how long it reminded her of how she used to sit outside waiting for Chloe to come home and hug her tightly. Holding on to that thought, she patiently waited in the sitting room, but Chloe never showed up, and she could not sit still any longer. She decided to take the initiative and get closer to Chloe. Meanwhile, upstairs in the sitting room, Chloe was meeting her sister Theresa. Theresa smiled brightly like a saint, drawing admiring looks from the maids nearby. They were all serving Chloe but still openly criticized her. This world is split into two groups: those with powers and ordinary people. Those blessed by the gods are called the gifted. They make up less than 1% of the empire's population, making them incredibly valuable everywhere. The Risa was even rarer. She had the power of light, though her power was limited to purification and far from healing. But since no one in this generation had healing abilities, the Risa was revered and seen as a candidate for sainthood. Yet Chloe knew the Risa's true face well. Out in public, the Risa spread all kinds of trash rumors about Chloe. While at home, she pretended to solemnly purify her, all just to gain their father's approval. Chloe sneered, bluntly saying that if she wanted the inheritance, instead of sucking up to dad here, she should focus on things that actually matter. Caught off guard, the Risa's face flushed red with embarrassment and anger. She was the daughter of the stepmother Lucia Asia, brought after remarrying the Duke. Her bloodline was her only weakness. Thinking about the maid still waiting nearby, the Risa reminded herself to stay calm, then openly revealed her true colors. So what if it is true? At least I am not like you, losing a year of inheritance over a stupid dog. Seeing her humiliated, Chloe could not hold back anymore. In her palm, a powerful dark spell with destructive force began to form. The Risa gasped in terror, unable to believe Chloe would dare use magic inside the house. But Chloe just smiled coldly. Even if I lose control, is not there still someone who can purify me? Or maybe no one can. Afraid her failure to purify Chloe would be exposed, the Risa reluctantly backed down and slipped away. After she left, Chloe collapsed from exhaustion and even cuffed up some bloodstains on her shirt. She did not realize her body was this drained before. Chloe always dreamed of becoming the Arter family here, hoping her father would acknowledge her as his pride. But the day her father insulted her and had someone dig up her grandmother's bones, Chloe finally stood up to him. He told her affection for a worthless dog was foolish, but to Chloe, her grandmother was not just a dog. She was a companion who opened her eyes and, more than that, the first family to love her unconditionally. Sometimes Chloe felt crazy because even now, she could still glimpse her grandmother's shadow. Every time she returned to her room, she instinctively searched for any trace left by her grandmother, but it was always hopeless. Then suddenly, she caught a familiar scent of purple flower. Her grandmother used to love bringing these flowers into the room. Chloe could not believe it and quickly picked up the flower, thinking it was Teresa's cruel prank out of anger. Meanwhile, her grandmother was completely unaware and happy with her gesture, thinking this would finally get Chloe's attention. Sure enough, not long after, a maid came running, asking Chloe if the flower in her room was from her grandmother. Her grandmother excitedly admitted she was the one who placed it. The maid turned pale with fear, since everyone knew angering Chloe could lead to being cursed by magic. But her grandmother did not understand what the maid meant. Chloe loved purple flowers, and every time she brought one, she got rewarded with sweet potatoes. The maid had no choice but to bring the offender to Chloe for judgment. Instead, her grandmother was overjoyed to finally meet Chloe, leaving the maid completely baffled by her reaction. When they reached Chloe's room, her grandmother froze immediately. The room was draped in darkness and gloom, but she clearly remembered Chloe never liked the dark. When Chloe returned after eating, light flooded the room so brightly she could not open her eyes. Actually, Chloe loved the light. It was just that the maids assumed the magic was afraid of light and had covered the room without permission. On the table sat a silver wisteria flower, and a note sweetly saying the flower would bring good luck. Suddenly Chloe heard that familiar voice, turned around in shock, and saw her grandmother's silhouette from memory, matching the little girl before her perfectly. She realized she would be overthinking Chloe, stepped forward to wake her grandmother, and even the sleepy look was exactly the same. The moment their eyes met, Chloe's heart skipped a beat. Finally, I get to see you. Her grandmother beamed with joy. Chloe was confused, wondering why a child she would never met looked at her with such happiness. She hurriedly asked the child's name, and her grandmother introduced herself. Chloe immediately composed herself. So this was the adopted child. You were the one who left the flower by the door, right? Done. You know it is rude to enter someone else's room without permission. Hearing this, her grandmother felt sad. Chloe still had not recognized her, but the little girl soon cheered up, saying she just wanted to be closer to her sister, and she also wanted to witness her sister's magic firsthand. She would heard the rumor that Chloe was a powerful shadow magic user. These were the words her grandmother had wanted to say since their previous life. Back then, Chloe faced endless criticism for her magic, was unfairly blamed by her fiancé, and servants whispered that her shadow magic caused her mother's death. Over time, Chloe began to doubt herself. At that time, her grandmother could only bark in frustration, powerless to help. So in this life, no matter what, her grandmother must show Chloe the incredible power of shadow magic. A star shining in daylight is not dazzling, it only looks beautiful because of the darkness around it. Without darkness, There is no such thing as light. That is why her grandmother believed Chloe as shadow magic was even more important than light magic. Hearing this, Chloe gathered magical energy in her palm, testing if her grandmother was afraid or not. Strangely, the little girl stepped right up and even complimented that the witch's magic singing was as beautiful as the night sky. At that moment, the girl's image looked like actual stars, brightening the dull night in Chloe's heart, making it impossible for her to look away. Then, she started showering Chloe with praise and begged if she could come visit often. Chloe did not refuse outright but set 2 conditions. First, no more calling her big sister, even if she was officially adopted by the family. The only relative she recognized was one. Second, even if she came to the mansion, she was not allowed to bother her. Feeling a bit disappointed, the girl returned to her room. When she was a stray, she was used to sleeping on cold floors. But that night, she felt a chill deep in her heart. After finally meeting the sister she longed for, all she got was cold distance and unfamiliarity. But she did not give up, decided to dress up beautifully and start a new plan to win over the Villainess's favor. Just then, a bunch of rats suddenly appeared, led by one wearing a crown and acting all bossy, calling himself the Rat King. They originally lived in packs at the Sea Kingdom mansion and were sent by the dog god this time. Turns out, they came to tell her how to predict the future. Hearing this, she was overjoyed, thinking maybe she could find a way to avoid being kicked out and even improve her relationship with Chloe. But the Rat King warned that this was a one-time chance to see only the future related to Chloe, so she had to be extremely careful. She quickly reassured him, swearing she would never forget anything about Chloe. Then, following the Rat King's instructions, she closed her eyes. But what she saw was almost a hopeless future for Chloe. Chloe was not just bullied by stepmom Lucia, Izia, and Teresa, she was also falsely accused by the King of Debauchery of murdering Duke Libra, who was convalescing at the Duke's mansion. Chloe did not defend herself at all, even though the girl risked everything to protect Chloe. It was all in vain. She was expelled from the family and ended up dying tragically. That heartbreaking future made her tears fall uncontrollably, but she quickly pulled herself together because, while seeing the future, she also heard cheers from her dog friends. At the same time, she believed she could change Chloe's fate. The Rat King realized they needed to act fast, since the mansion's owner planned to lock the place down for a while. Meanwhile, the maids were isolating Chloe and shamelessly stealing her belongings. Hearing this, she was furious. No wonder Chloe was wearing dirty old clothes yesterday. She could not confront the Duke's wife or Teresa yet, so she decided to teach those bossy maids a lesson first. Whenever it involved Chloe, her eyes lit up fiercely. She eagerly discussed the plan with the Rat King. In the future she saw, the maids had hidden an embezzlement ledger, finding it could kick them out of the mansion. Then she pulled out 2 pieces of cheese as payment and asked the Rat King for help. And so, their partnership officially began. Meanwhile, Chloe was eating, but really, she was just eating spoiled, rotten food. To Chloe, it did not matter because her uncontrolled dark magic had ruined her sense of taste. With the girl's visit approaching, Chloe suddenly felt life was dull and meaningless. Unexpectedly, the girl popped her head in, ignoring the maid's harsh words, and handed Chloe a toy. Chloe was startled. It was a toy the girl loved playing with back when she was alive but had never found. Then the girl said there was another bone-shaped toy, but the rats had stolen it. She begged Chloe to let her stay one night, because she was great at catching rats and might find it. Chloe felt a headache, but also curiosity sparked, since it was another favorite toy of the girl's. Maybe she could discover clues she had not seen before. In the end, Chloe reluctantly agreed to let her stay the night. Right after, she saw the girl acting like she was at home, rummaging everywhere, sometimes complaining about the stinky steak on the table, other times yanking open the door hinges. Her actions caught Chloe off guard for a moment. Night fell, and she sneaked down to the underground as the Rat King had instructed. There, the maids were brazenly flaunting the wealth they would skimmed from the food budget. She gritted her teeth in anger but held back for Chloe's sake. Finally, she found the storage room the Rat King mentioned and discovered the hidden embezzlement ledger. Carefully, she tucked it into her coat, but just then, some maids walked in. Hearing footsteps getting closer, she shut her eyes tight in tension. But a maid still caught her. The maid roughly grabbed her and threw her to the floor, demanding to know what she was doing there, threatening to report her the housekeeper if she did not confess. Fighting fear, she looked the maid straight in the eye, pulled out a bone-shaped toy she would prepared, and said she was just helping Miss Chloe find something. The maids thought she was making it up, and one even raised a hand to strike when Chloe suddenly appeared, holding a lamp. Demanding to know what they were doing gathered there. Seeing Chloe gave her courage. Before acting, she would spoken with her and got permission to roam the mansion freely at night. Plus, Chloe promised that whenever she called the name of the bone-shaped toy, she would appear no matter where she was. Then, she respectfully handed over the toy. The moment Chloe touched it, she felt a mysterious surge of power. Next, she pulled out the embezzlement ledger, saying she would found this precious proof to kick the wicked maids out of the mansion after the girl left. Chloe's voice turned cold, like she was sentencing the maids to death. Actually, Chloe had long known about their nightly underground plots, but chose to ignore it until now. One daring maid asked why she wanted to punish them now, if she would known all along. Thinking of the wounds the girl had just suffered, Chloe's killing intent flared up because their actions had crossed the line, even with clear evidence. The maids remained arrogant, knowing they were under the housekeeper's supervision over Chloe. That is why they dared to be so brazen. Soon after, the maid bowed, admitting guilt, promising to return to the housekeeper's side, and reminded Chloe that punishing servants was the mistress's right. Chloe could not help but laugh, coldly being direct bloodline. No matter how clever the servants were, what could that woman really do? Before she finished speaking, dark magic began to gather in Chloe's palm. In an instant, all the maids' powers were stripped away, plunging them into darkness, watching them desperately kneel and scream in pain, twisted by hallucinations. Chloe felt no mercy at all. She calmly declared this was the punishment for those who dared disrespect her. If they could behave until dawn, she might consider sparing a life. Stepping out of the room, Chloe felt a rare flicker of satisfaction as she thought about hiring some new maids. Suddenly, her body wobbled and almost collapsed. It was a side effect from overusing dark magic and the haunting hallucinations. Each time, she would unconsciously see happy visions, pushing away the darkness without hesitation. But at the same time, the magic caused her unbearable pain. Yet this time, after a moment, the pain strangely vanished. Chloe was stunned, unsure why the side effects ended so quickly. Meanwhile, the girl waited for Chloe's return. A mansion technician advised her to get some rest, then handed her a delicate bottle, explaining it was a reward from Miss Chloe. Soon after, her wounds began to cool rapidly. Overjoyed, she felt that even if Chloe did not recognize her, it did not matter. She was still the kind of sister who would not let anyone get hurt. A shining ray of sunlight. She also believed that one day, Chloe would openly admit that she was the sister she loved most in the world. The next day, Vu heard from the maids that the girl had stayed all night at the mansion, making him worry Chloe might do something cruel to her. He rushed to the manor, only to find her asleep right in front of the main gate. Worried Chloe might bully her, he would been searching the manor since early morning. Unexpectedly, he found her asleep right outside the main gate. Thinking about how much Lightning would love her, and that this kid had once helped him, Vut planned to just greet his little sister and then take her back to his estate. But when he pushed inside, he realized the maids seemed completely changed, no longer lazy, and the house was much brighter. He set her down on the sofa, and while waiting for Chloe, he absent-mindedly admired her peaceful sleeping face. So cute, he could not resist teasing her a little. Just then, she suddenly woke up, her sapphire eyes scanning around, not seeing Chloe. She asked if Vut had brought her inside, but shot back. What? Got kicked out and still want to cling on. Then he invited her to be Lightning as vet and promised to prepare plenty of snacks and toys for her. Right at that moment, Chloe finally showed up, warning Vut not to say nonsense to the kid. She herself never kicked her out. Hearing that she would slept outside, Chloe was completely clueless. She had clearly prepared a room for her. Embarrassed, the girl confessed she had been drawn outside by the bright sunlight streaming through the window and accidentally fell asleep because it was so warm. Hearing this, Chloe's lips curled into an affectionate smile. Vut's eyes went wide. Turns out not only was the manor filled with beautiful sunlight, but even Chloe's heart was bathed in that light. It was like she would return to her state before her magic went out of control. Definitely the right call to have her find Chloe. Seeing Chloe order him to leave, Vut suddenly remembered why he came and warned her to be extra careful lately. Not long ago, the spirit beast tiger that Grand Duke Libra brought had escaped. When the girl asked what a spirit beast was, Vut immediately put on a serious face to explain. Spirit beasts are powerful creatures blessed by the gods, with special abilities, and can form binding contracts with humans. Animals like Lightning that she knows are just normal beasts. There are even rarer ones called divine beasts, but those only appear in the Empire's legends. Though capturing that tiger would earn a big reward, No one dared to try yet before his father returned. Vud had not finished, but Chloe pressed on, saying when their dad is back, the girl's status as an adopted child will definitely be revoked. Those harsh words made Vud upset, and he immediately argued with his sister, hearing Chloe's orders. The girl could not help but feel hurt. Now even this fake bond felt so strained. If that status was taken away, she might have no way to stay close to her sister anymore. That was something she absolutely could not let happen. Then suddenly she had a bright idea. What if she caught the spirit beast tiger herself? Vud burst out laughing, thinking there was no way a 5-year-old could do that. But since their dad worships strength so much, maybe this could actually prevent her from losing custody. Just as she was excited, Chloe's cold voice cut in sharply. Stop dreaming. She is so small and fragile, how could she catch it? Does she want to get hurt? The girl understood Chloe was just worried about her, but was determined to prove she was a strong little dog. So she called Lightning and King Chut together for a strategy meeting. But as soon as she said she wanted to catch the tiger, both Lightning and King Chut froze in shock. King Chut immediately gave up. No matter what she said, it was a primal fear, even though King Chut was mighty. He was not a match for a tiger. Lightning said he wanted to help but just could not, so he declined. With no animal friends able to help, she sadly hung her head, unsure what to do. Suddenly, an idea sparked. She told King Chut to show her the places his instincts warned him to avoid. Maybe the tiger was hiding there, so she dragged King Sneeze along as her detector anywhere he felt comfortable. She avoided, heading only toward what scared him. Quickly, she traced her way closer to the warehouse. In her hands, King Sneeze kept nudging her to stay back. Then suddenly, a tiger's roar blasted out, and King Sneeze froze in terror. She had no choice but to stuff him into her pocket, instantly realizing this had to be the tiger's hideous. But despite searching everywhere, she could not spot the tiger anywhere. She did not know how long she had been calling, but the tiger still would not show up, and she started to lose hope. If this kept up, the girl might really get kicked out of the Duke's mansion. Just then, she noticed something odd about the grass in front of her. The wind was blowing hard, yet the grass here did not move at all, like something heavy was pressing down on it. Remembering that spirit beasts have special powers, she cautiously stepped forward and softly asked, "Are you here?" Startled, the tiger's muscles tensed up. Being spotted while invisible made it wary, but seeing the girl up close, it sensed no threat. Maybe it was just another fake ability. So the tiger scratched symbols into the ground, asking if she could really see it. Those characters were nothing like human writing, yet she understood them perfectly. She introduced herself as someone who could communicate with animals. Surprised, she asked why the tiger was hiding and invited it to come back with her, but the tiger bluntly refused, convinced no one truly liked it. It turned out the tiger had once lived in an extremely cold region, hunting down evil spirits. Over time, not only did humans avoid it, but even other spirit beasts abandoned it one by one. Back then, only one human boy had reached out to save it. Hearing this sad and moving story, she changed her mind. She had originally planned to catch the tiger for Chloe, but now she just wanted to be friends with it. The tiger was so touched it willingly revealed itself to her. She smiled brightly and reached out her hand. She could not understand what the tiger really wanted. Its eyes clearly wanted to follow her, so why would not it come closer? Just then, Chloe found her and asked if she was still stubbornly looking for the tiger. She immediately shook her head, denying it, but her poor acting got called out on the spot. Chloe ordered her to obediently go back to her room and wait. She pouted, saying she just wanted to help her sister. Suddenly, she realized she had not made any plans with herself. Suddenly, she struggled to figure out why the tiger had refused her. It must be because the tiger also had a true friend it wanted to see, just like her. So she hurriedly lied to Chloe. Chloe was stunned, sensing trouble brewing. Meanwhile, she sighed in relief and dashed back to the same spot. She called out loudly, "I know you have a friend you want to see. Come with me, I promise to reunite you with them." It turned out she had seen news about the tiger during a previous glimpse into the future. The tiger was imprisoned like a toy by Duke Libra from the north, tortured and abused, then finally abandoned in the wild from exhaustion. She did not want the tiger to suffer a tragic fate. Holding the worm for tightly, she understood the loneliness and pain of having no one by your side because she had felt it too. At that moment, the tiger was truly moved by her words. It was the first time in its life it felt warmth from a human. Then, she gathered everyone in the Duke's mansion and proudly announced she had successfully captured a spirit beast tiger alive. After speaking, she gestured for everyone to look beside her. Vud and Dokman looked confused, their faces full of question marks. They thought she was teasing them, But then a tame tiger really appeared right next to her. Everyone was frozen in shock. It turned out the tiger's special power was being an actual tiger. Even Chloe could not believe it, and quickly asked how she did it. She recounted the whole story and honestly revealed her secret, that she could talk to animals. Hearing this, Vut jumped up excitedly, because that power was just a legend, but at the same time, he was happy, because now she could become someone special. Her place was as someone unique. Someone beautiful, someone truly special. She stood there stunned. She really was the auntie after all. If it were before, I would have hugged her tight and showered her with praise. But thinking about it, this is good news after receiving the Duke's reward. Doc Moon can get one step closer to Chloe at that moment. Vut suddenly grew worried, reminding Auntie that the Duke is not someone to take lightly. Meanwhile, at the camp where Duke Arter was leading his troops, he was yelling at his subordinates. He was growing more frustrated with the younger generation this whole past month. They have just talked without doing a thing. Just then, a report came in. The spirit beast tiger had been captured, and the one who caught it was the child blessed by the gods, the one the Duke once took in. The Duke was shocked. He thought that kid was about to be abandoned from guardianship. Unsure if Auntie really had any special powers, the Duke decided to keep her for now and ordered a reward for her. A few days later, Vut guessed Auntie had caught a kid, someone easier to handle. Right then, news that Auntie had tamed the spirit beast eater's tiger suddenly spread everywhere. Rumor had it the Duke received this news twice and was rushing back to his manor that very night. Everyone's attention immediately shifted. The spotlight was snatched from Teresa, and her face darkened. Rumor said Auntie and Chloe were close, and Teresa worried her father might start watching Chloe because of that. But shortly after, another piece of news brought a smile back to her lips. The spirit beast tiger was reportedly severely weakened and would not survive much longer. Auntie had worked so hard to earn the tiger's trust, yet its body was already critical, its claws covered in black spots. It was a deadly disease called the Black Lion Mark. Any spirit beast infected with it would quickly perish. Auntie held the spirit beast tiger, tears streaming down her face, because she still had not helped it find the person it longed to see. Then the tiger told her a folk remedy if it drank thorns from a blue rose, it might heal. The next day, Auntie ran through the manor's garden searching for blue roses, but turned everything upside down and found nothing. The little girl started wondering if she should sneak out of the manor. Just then, she noticed Chloe and thought maybe she knew a clue about the blue roses. Hearing Auntie call, Chloe turned coldly and said, "Didn't I tell you not to enter the garden?" Auntie quickly apologized, saying she just wanted to help the spirit beast tiger find the blue rose. Chloe shrugged and told her not to waste her efforts. Blue roses simply do not exist anywhere in the world. Realizing she could not save the spirit beast tiger, Auntie immediately fell into despair. Seeing her so down, Chloe gently ruffled her hair and said it was not time to give up yet. If it just looked like a blue rose, then she might have a lead. Hearing that, Auntie beamed and joyfully waved her arms around. The kid's enthusiasm even made Chloe smile without realizing it. Then Chloe took Auntie to a flower garden full of hydrangea bushes. She explained that people often poetically compare blue hydrangea flowers to blue roses. Auntie happily praised Chloe as a genius, making Chloe fall into a fond memory. Actually, it was all thanks to Auntie, meaning the dog Auntie loved most back then. She used to love playing in this garden and adored all the flowers here. Every morning she would run around everywhere, which is why Chloe subconsciously wanted to keep the garden looking just as it used to. That is also why Chloe did not want Auntie wandering freely in the garden. She did not want to see Auntie's soled footprints crushed on the grass. Realizing she would upset Chloe, Auntie hung her head sadly and shyly asked if Chloe still wanted to see her. Not just see her, Chloe wanted to hug her, to feel her warmth once again. Hearing that, Auntie fell silent, heartbroken. Never imagined her leaving caused so much pain. Then Chloe picked a blue hydrangea flower, handed it to Auntie, and told her to leave. Watching Chloe's figure fade away, Auntie grew even more determined. She had to try harder so Chloe would recognize her and never feel alone again. Elsewhere, Teresa wanted to meddle in the healing of the tiger spirit beast, so she sent her loyal Zia to investigate the beast's condition. With her special ability to read animal emotions, Zia boldly ordered Doc Moon to take her straight to the tiger spirit beast's chamber. But as soon as they reached the door, a maid stepped out, and right after, a full stench hit them. The tiger spirit beast lay sprawled on the floor, completely lifeless. Zia immediately ordered the maid's arrest. This situation played perfectly into Teresa's plan, giving her the chance to spread rumors that Chloe had killed the tiger spirit beast to bring her down. Zia pinned the entire murder charge on the maid and cruelly threw the little girl into a dark prison cell. When Vut and Chloe heard the news, They were horrified. The next day, Vut angrily stormed to the prison. The guards tried to hold him back, urging him to stay calm, but Vut was furious, and magic already gathered in his palm, even if it meant breaking family rules. He was determined to break in, sweeping aside the guards. Vut easily found the maid's cell, seeing the little girl sitting there with her back to him. Vut was furious. He could not believe they would hurt a 5-year-old child. Then he heard a soft, crooning voice. It was the maid talking to the bugs crawling on the floor. Vut thought she was trying to stay strong, just to keep him from worrying. Moved, Vut shed tears and promised to get her out immediately, but the maid calmly said it was not necessary soon. The tiger spirit beast would be alive again. Chloe once said that if you could turn things around from a hopeless situation, that is when you are at your coolest. So the maid wanted to stay in prison and play the victim a little longer. Vut was completely confused, not understanding what was going on. Just then, a cold voice rang out. Vut, did not I warn you not to cause trouble? When he saw Chloe appear, the maid panicked. She knew that even though Chloe was a dark magic user, she was actually terrified of complete darkness. When Chloe was little, her family once locked her in a cellar for a week to force her to get used to dark magic. Since then, whenever she stepped into any dark space not created by herself, Chloe's body would instantly tremble. Seeing the maid worried about her even in prison, Chloe could not help but recall the times the maid had comforted her. She pushed aside her fear and asked the maid directly if she really had not killed the tiger spirit beast. Hearing the maid's promise that the tiger spirit beast would revive in 2 days, Chloe quietly made a mental note and then asked if she was cold in there. If so, she offered to bring her a blanket. The maid smiled faintly at that. Just having Chloe chase away the darkness and care for her was enough. Then Chloe told Vut to step back and blasted the prison door open with a magic spell. The servants hurried to bring in sofas, lay down rugs, and transform the cell into a cozy room. After finishing, Chloe left calmly. She had already guessed this was a trap set by Teresa to frame her and the maid, since the rumors would not have spread so fast without her push. At the same time, the Duke's carriage returned to the manor. For the first time in years, Chloe personally went out to greet him. She wanted to be a protective force for that child and requested a private talk with her father. As soon as she entered his office, Chloe was straightforward. This was about the maid. The Duke frowned impatiently, saying prisoner matters should be handled by the interrogators. But Chloe looked him in the eye and insisted the child was not the murderer, asking him to postpone the trial for 2 days. The Duke was surprised. His daughter always seemed weak around him, yet now she had the courage to face him head-on. In the end, he agreed but declared he would personally preside over the trial in 2 days. So the maid lived comfortably in the cell for 2 days until the trial officially began. When the Duke called the suspect forward, the maid appeared wearing a soft fur coat, looking far from the helpless child a prisoner would be. Seeing this, the Duke felt troubled. After all, this was a murder case, and the suspect before him was just a 5-year-old girl. The maid impatiently shouted that the tiger spirit beast was definitely not dead. Immediately, Gia countered, insisting his supernatural senses had confirmed the tiger spirit beast was truly dead. The moment that child stepped out of the room, the tiger spirit's emotions suddenly vanished. On top of that, the kid presented evidence that Chloe had helped kill the tiger spirit. Teresa immediately seized the chance to pour fuel on the fire, making things even worse. She was furious and explained that the tiger spirit was just in a deep sleep to heal its wounds. The tiger spirit itself told her this to verify whether she truly had the power to communicate with animals. The Duke gathered magic into a glowing blade in his hand and slashed toward her. This was his ability to detect lies. If her power was fake, the light would engulf her body. If real, it would disappear. After the test, no typical reaction of a powerless person appeared on her at all. Seeing this, Gia laughed mockingly, but the Duke was stunned, shocked, speechless on the spot, because a mystical rainbow light appeared on her that only the Duke could see. It was a sight he had never witnessed before. She loudly insisted that the test results must be wrong. Teresa immediately scolded the girl for being rude, but was quickly stopped by the Duke. He leaned down and asked her when the tiger spirit would wake up. Chloe checked the clock. It had been exactly 2 days. Sure enough, right after, a tiger spirit dashed straight into the courtroom and immediately ran to her side. Anyone could see they had reached a deep mental connection. With Teresa's horrified gaze on them, Chloe slowly walked over and declared it was time to change a defendant. Feeling cornered, Teresa immediately tried to shift blame, not only accusing Gia of not checking properly, but also denying spreading rumors, unlawfully imprisoning the girl, and even pretending to defend her. Seeing Teresa completely abandon her, Jie knelt down and begged the Duke forgiveness, but the Duke did not even glance at her. He quietly stepped to the girl's side, apologized for the misunderstanding, promised to reward her for saving the tiger spirit, and vowed to grant any reasonable wish. The girl joyfully jumped up and then looked at Chloe beside her, expressing hope that the Duke, Chloe, and she would always be together every day. She wanted to help Chloe fully overcome the pain of her own death. Of course, if Rut wanted to come along, the girl would not mind at all. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe so you do not miss our latest uploads.